Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, the United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
Who are those guys?
And then there's the other guys.
We're the other guys. We're the guys nobody ever bets on.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and what can we tell you? We are the Other Alliance Guys, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one, zing, number one, inside joke.
Yep.
You're no. What a start. What a start. I've broken the character or whatever it is right off the bat. Your number one source for news and information around the National Wrestling Alliance, the United Wrestling Network, and various independents around the world. My name's Tim. This guy over here is Jeremy. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well.
You're very like backwoods CM Punk today. It's like Punk went camping. That's you right now. Looks good. I like it. And this handsome young fellow down here is Mr. Dave Scooby, our fantasy booker. How you doing, Dave?
Doing well.
Good.
Doing well. Just over a week, and I'll be heading to St. Louis.
Me too, buddy. I look forward to seeing you there. That's it's exciting, but well, we'll talk about it. It's kind of just the build has been, hasn't been a lot going on. Like, I don't know, but we'll talk about that in a sec. Let's see who we got in the. Hey, this must be Jeremy. This is Jeremy. Thank you. Yes, please like, share, and do all that social media stuff for us. We really appreciate it. Willie, your joke has disappeared from earlier, and it was pretty funny. Put it back up for us. But Willie's here. Willie's always here. And so is Money Mike. Mike also with the Tyrus jokes tonight as well. Sam Retro is here. What's up to you, my friend? Mandy's here. Good to see you again. Thanks for coming back. Always good to have you here. And wait, here we go. Oh, Jeremy, you're 1,000 times smarter than CM Punk.
Well, thank you.
Not a Punk fan, Willie Bowen.
He gets a bad rap.
I think so too. Everybody's in it for themselves. I mean, there you go. I gotta read Mike's tweets, Mike's comments before I put them up. I gotta get into that habit. What are we talking about today, fellas? We'll do a little round table around the NWA. We'll do the review of HP Cares for Cooper. Jeremy's going to talk about the best out of the UWN, the best, I think, two still, matches with Derby and Championship Wrestling presented by Car Shield, kind of still on one show. And then Dave's going to fantasy book us up the Burke Invitational Gauntlet, which is exciting. Back to the heading into 75. Paladin's here. Hey, Paladin. Punk's a cancer. There it is. Tyrus is getting a divorce from Sari Lee. He's dating Little Debbie now.
I heard he had Marie Callender as a side piece too, though.
Is that the fact? Yeah. Let's talk NWA. Let's do some NWA talk right off the bat. We let's start with something subtle. Maybe not everybody's heard about. Like Dave, you brought up, I think, in the Discord, some a chat exchange between the former NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion Barrett Brown and the current NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion Kerry Morton.
Yep.
And with Barrett saying, tell them the story, like about what, in case people don't know, with Barrett before and Kerry now and what's happened.
Well, Barrett posted, let's see, it would have been, I guess, either late Saturday or early Sunday. He posted, today, 6 years ago, I was the world junior heavyweight champion. I experienced a small sense of closure with at real Kerry Morton, but where one chapter closes, another is sure to open. Here's to a dream achieved. Here's to my story being told. Here's to more to come. And he tagged the NWA. So Kerry responds, NWA, invite him back so I whoop his ass again. Sincerely, the champ.
Yeah.
And I mean, who knows? I mean, Kerry already has an opponent in Colby Carino who won the right to face him for the junior heavyweight championship.
Right.
But I would mark the hell out if Barrett Brown shows up at 75.
Yeah.
Because either wrap the story up within the NWA, or it's written for you right there. Finish the story, or maybe he comes to the aid of Colby Carino, who is possibly being beat up and double teamed because, Daddy Morton will be there, and I'm sure he has his manager's license. Jamie Stanley will be there, but who knows what'll happen. But I'm just hoping that the NWA, the story is right there for the telling.
Yeah.
Wrap it up or continue it. It's up to them. But I mean, you have a former junior heavyweight champion. Bring him in. I mean, it's one of these things. I mean, like Kevin Douglas, he's an Alliance family member. And I mean, he's a former champion. He doesn't wrestle anymore, but if he was able to come back to, even though he may not like the current rendition of the NWA, if he was able to come back as a manager and manage someone to go against Kerry, you're using the past. Use it to your advantage. Don't pick and choose. Use it to your advantage. People can now go online and find out about the past and the history and the legacy of the NWA. If it's there right in front of you, use it. Use it in a storyline.
Yeah. It's not even, where WPC has said, I'm not going to have, they're talking about the Chris Van Vliet podcast. We'll get to that in a second in the chat. He had said on that podcast, like he said before, I'm not going to have the fans book my promotion.
Yep.
But this isn't that. This is like social media.
This is your current champion saying, hey, let's wrap this up. Let me finish him off for good.
Right. I mean, and it's the most interesting thing I've seen in the NWA and social media in a long, long time. Like it's organic and we're talking about it.
I mean, it's one of those things that if you saw the CBV interview with Billy.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're not going to look back at the past and you want to just focus on who you are now, why are they bringing up Eli Drake as LA Knight? That's part of your past.
Right.
So it's like you really can't, you can pick and choose, but why not tell the story that it's sitting right there for you to use?
Yeah.
If you don't like it, bring him in, wrap it up, and say, okay, we're done with this. If the story goes and people bite on it, why not use it?
Well, Mandy was asking who's seen it, and Paladin said he did. It's a train wreck. I haven't finished it yet. Mandy agreed that it's a train wreck, and Paladin's in the chat saying, that Corgan was upset and complained about Chris's questions, not promoting 75. Didn't know who Markova was. Didn't know who didn't ask about Camille. Did you listen to it yet, Jared?
I haven't listened to it yet, but I've read a couple of things already about it, and Billy comes across as off-puttish. He does not interview well. He never has really. Even when it comes to music, he is kind of I'm better than you, comes across that way a lot. I'm smarter than you. And he's definitely one that gets upset if don't ask specific things that he wants you to ask. How are you supposed to know what someone's wanting to talk about? This was Van Vliet's interview, and you agreed to do it, so you're agreeing to answer questions that he asks you. To get upset just is off-putting. I don't.
Actually, yeah, and I agree. And any good interviewer, I don't know if it's commonly known in media, like to the common guy like you and me, but like they ask you the questions in advance. Like,
Yeah.
Unless you're 60 Minutes, who decidedly does not, you're gonna get a sheet that tells you what we're going to talk about at this time. So, I mean, I have to see it before I can comment, but
I did see it, and Billy sort of does his own little, let's go to the left, let's go to the right, let's do this. You ask me this, and then I respond this way. Well, you didn't ask about Markova. You didn't ask about this. You didn't ask about this. Well, they're not household names.
Sure.
Yeah.
If somebody comes up to somebody that is a wrestler and goes, "Hey, what do you think about the NWA?" Anybody over the age of 30 is going to go, I don't know. Ric Flair was a cool champion.
Yeah.
Or if they're older, they'll know Harley Race. Or they'll know, if they're a newer one, they may know who Nick Aldis is if they actually watched Impact currently, where he just was, and in the past when he was Brutus or whatever. I never really watched TNA back in that time, but it's one of these things that if you want to become a household name, you have to put yourself out there. That there's people that don't know, okay, hey, Smashing Pumpkins. Well, they may know, but unless you're an old school alternative music person, Smashing Pumpkins is a new band over the last 2 to 3 years, just putting out their latest release. That unless you found them, or you had an older sibling, or your parents listened to them, there's a lot of stuff out there that isn't mainstream. And it's up to you to push what you want people to know about.
Right. And like Jade said earlier, Billy would argue that Eli Drake or LA Knight is his history, but Brown wasn't. But, we have heard, in the past, I think Dave Marquez was saying recently, like he was told at the beginning of Power, don't really refer to Colt Cabana as a 2-time NWA world champion. Tim Storm's my focus right now. And he did it anyway. Like Marquez was like, hey, former world champion, Colt Boom Cabana, come on in, that kind of thing. But he was told, I think he said more than once, not to do that. So you do pick or choose, right? I mean, about what you want. You're going to pick Ric Flair. You're going to pick Harley Race. But I can see why. And honestly, to this point, that's what I was trying to think of earlier. He did say in this interview, in the part that I've heard so far, that Eli Drake was being pegged for NWA World's Heavyweight Championship before everything just happened and, it got shut down from the pandemic and all that stuff. Again, I haven't seen it all, but he called Tyrus an international icon. I'd argue that Tyrus is an international icon. It doesn't mean he's the world's greatest wrestler.
No.
But he is extremely successful in other circles.
He can also be used as a landmark for pilots, but...
Yeah. Yeah, he also he said that he said that a lot of people slept on Eli Drake. Corgan responds, "Fatal, not me." But he did. Like, I thought he had a couple of good points in like the 20 minutes I've watched so far about how like size is sometimes a factor, and even though Eli is probably 6'1" or 6'2" or something, a lot of guys in the NWA are very, very big, and he looks small compared to, I think he named Trevor Murdoch and Tyrus and who else did he name? I don't know. But I mean, Tyrus wasn't even there at the time. But yeah, I mean, what's he gonna say? It's probably worth a listen, and you know, we should all probably take the time and see what it is that the boss had to say, so to speak. But we talked about Barrett Brown's tweet and Kerry's response and how that kind of hope for the best at 75 or beyond. Yeah, or even beyond, right?
Yep.
Jeremy, I know you're a Vampiro fan, and there was a crazy minute and a half tweet that the NWA put out with Vampiro in it. Honest to God, I gotta say before the show, I didn't understand it, but it was like the best thing that I've seen out of the NWA this season. Did you see it?
I have, and like I said, like I told you guys, I freaking love that guy.
Yeah.
It's incomprehensible, mainly. I don't want to say because of the concussion issues and stuff, but thinking back though, he didn't really get a whole lot of opportunities for mic time in WCW here and stuff.
Yeah.
But when he did, they were always a little out there anyways. He's kind of a spiritual out there guy anyways, so he traipses around on the fringes and stuff. I loved it. Like you said, it was one of the best things that they put out in a while. And it say what you want. Like I was telling you guys, Vampiro's one of those guys that I knew about long before I ever saw him.
Right.
You know, the man is a legend, and was a legend even back then. And this was in the mid to late 90s whenever I first actually saw him, and I had heard about him for years before that. So
it was super raw in the beginning. Like,
yeah,
it was like a side view. You know, he's kind of rubbing his hands or something, and it starts off with, "I don't have my meds." And it was like, what? And then it went a little off the rails because he's going off the rails in the video.
Yep.
And it was a little campy and Undertaker-y, Kane-y kind of for me. But I really liked it.
Have you seen any of his movies from Mexico?
No.
He's been in a handful of horror Mexican horror flicks, and they're a little campy and over the top. So and he's very theatrical. He's always been very theatrical in his performances. Takes a lot of that from his love for the Misfits and stuff.
Yep.
Who were very theatrical with their performances. So
right.
It worked. Like I said, it like you said, it was one of the best things that they've done.
It's like it's a bit strange to say, but even when he's standing beside Mae Valentine, on one hand, he seems to get in the way of his own promo. Like he kind of trips over himself, right? Yeah. He's moving back and forth with his head all the time, and he's like, this and that, and you said this, and what do you mean? Like, you're like, but on the other hand, somehow it works for him to be off-putting and to not be so perfect, and like, here's my promo, here's my climax, boom, there you go, drop the mic, I'm out. He just kind of stumbles through it and does that glare. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool too. I encourage you guys to go on Twitter, follow, I guess, the NWA and see it there. I'm sure Yeah, I agree with Jay. It's probably just part of all the shtick, but I think that it works for him really, really well. Willie Willie says Tyrus has a game named after him. There you go. Oh boy. Yeah, and Mike had said earlier, what else is Billy going to say at that interview? He isn't going to berate his own berate his own talent, calling Tyrus King Hippo, right? Yeah, I mean, it's all part of. He did say something in the part that I watched. He's in the promotions game, and this is about promoting, and he knows he believes he knows what's best for the company, and I guess we'll see as time goes on. But a couple of interesting tweets this week, and that we've talked about. One of the things that slipped under the radar from Power this past week, though, and in fact, like at the Discord, I was like, "Why isn't everybody freaking out?" Did you guys see what Tom Latimer said when he was talking to May in the taped backstage segment?
No.
He said, and I'm going to quote it. He was holding the title, and he said a couple things beforehand, which could have put a different context in it. I will say that. But I'm going to quote him here. At NWA 75, whether it's Tyrus or whether it's EC3, I couldn't give a shit. I'm cashing this in, slap the title, and I'm taking the heavyweight championship. They've announced this 2 weeks before the pay-per-view on Power, and I felt like the only person that I know who actually at the time was like, doesn't this change kind of the whole landscape of what we've been talking about? What do you think, Dave?
I was very surprised. I'm just hoping they go through with it. Now it's one of these things of he still doesn't have an opponent, so we need to almost do a wait and see what happens. But if he wins, that will, I guess, be his official 7th win. His lucky 7. He can then turn it in. I would love to see it, but I'm hoping they're not going to do a bait and switch.
He did say he's got Chris Adonis next week, but I heard him say something about an exhibition match.
Yeah.
So that may be non-title.
That's what I'm assuming, because Adonis isn't listed anywhere on the 75 for any of the matches yet. We'll still see. Who knows? I'm hoping in the back of my head when I heard, oh, he's going to fight Adonis. All I could think of was, please don't do a WCW where Kevin Nash does the finger poke of doom to get the win.
Yeah.
But
yeah, the wise men.
I'm just, I don't know. There's so much going on, but there's so much we don't know about. And I'm surprised with a week and a half left, there's still several matches that they don't have opponents for.
I'm beginning to think because he and Tom and Kenzie are both TV champions, Billy's just not going to there's no title defense for either one of them because it's not TV.
Yeah.
Which I mean, could put them into other things. Kenzie could go into the Burke Invitational, or Tom Latimer could show up for the main event night too. J. Cal says Adonis versus Cardona. My prediction.
Yep.
Yep. Yours too?
Me too. I mean, they both match up. They both have wrestled in the past. And I mean, it would be Adonis losing to Cardona won't harm him. It'll just be, I'll get him next time.
Right. Tyrus beats EC3. Latimer beats Tyrus. Latimer versus EC3 next pay-per-view. That's also my prediction. that EC3 falls to Tyrus through whatever means, and then Latimer beats a weakened, been through the wars Tyrus for the title, which is not a strong win for Latimer, but hey, at least you got a new champ.
Yeah.
But
Jeremy says,
what if during Latimer's cash-in, because Tyrus is so beaten down, EC3 attempts to help a brother out and jumps Latimer?
And jumps Latimer. Yeah. Yeah.
And then he's got to fight through EC3, who still has been in a match, but so is Latimer at this point for the night. So,
yeah, that's a good, certainly a possible situation. It's a good one, actually. You know, I heard a lot of people, read a lot of people online saying, well, you know, if you wanted to follow through the Wise Men, which I'm sure has a good listening, Tyrus and Tim podcast is where I catch it, but which is Tyrus, EC3, Aaron Stevens, and Trevor Murdoch, and sometimes Black G's. Am I missing anyone? I think that's it. You know, you could do something there, and Tyrus could manage, or he goes on the color commentary. I predicted if Tyrus loses, he's done with the NWA for the, you know, foreseeable future, because he's too big to be probably spending time doing the tapings. Right? He's got a gig 5 weeks a night. He's got the stand-up comedy tour that he's proud of. He's selling the books, and you know, I think he'd move on.
I imagine he'll probably be gearing up his personal tours for the holiday season as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I'm excited by that comment. I hope that the NWA clips it and puts it out there like, oh my God, Latimer's said he's gonna it's out there unless they missed it or something like that, and just nobody caught it and it went to air. But I can't imagine that, but I hope that's not true. You know, I look forward to the show, to watching it, but I always said this last week, I have to spend too much time on it, but I am not excited about the build, disappointed in the build.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we, like Dave was saying, we still don't know if Latimer or Kenzie, for that matter, have matches. We just got M95 versus Pretty Empowered, because who else was there? The Jordan Clearwater versus Zion is going to be on the pre-show, and that just got announced. Mm-hmm. You got Jordan Clearwater on your pre-show. Like, I don't know. And we don't know what nights they're on. Like,
yeah,
it's strange, but I look forward to the show where crazy things will have to happen at the show itself. But I really feel, Dave, like, you know, I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but it's your Diamond Jubilee. It's the 75th anniversary. It should be the biggest goddamn deal on the planet for the NWA, and it just isn't.
No. Nope.
And I mean, at most of their pay-per-views, they go for quantity. I'd rather have quality.
Yeah.
Let's say this next go around that, okay, Robert Anthony, he has something to prove. He's no longer under the mask.
Right.
Okay, that's a story to tell. Do you mix that story with the new Zion? Do you pick Eric Jackson? Do you pick, who knows, maybe the Fixers? Each season, pick several different wrestlers and or teams and tell a story. Not every wrestling match has to have a backstory to it.
Right.
Sometimes it's just wrestler A versus wrestler B, for a chance to go after the TV title.
Yeah.
That's the story.
Yeah.
But they need to pick and choose and make the pay-per-views almost like must-see TV. Where, I got to see what happens. They got this new guy, Zion. Let's see what's up with him. We don't know anything about him. He's another masked man. What's the story between him and what happened with Zion? Tell some stories and give us some history, and then make it mean something.
Yep.
Right. Make it mean something. But sometimes, like you said, the best stories are just the short ones. Like a guy walks past the color commentator and looks at him and goes, "What did you just say? What did you just say about me?" Mm-hmm. Jack State has never looked more vulnerable, Tim Storm. Get in the ring, mofo. Like, that's one of the most exciting matches for me. I want to see.
Yeah.
Tim Storm just like staring daggers back at him, and all right, let's go.
It honestly feels like pay-per-view fatigue, though. It's just
from Crockett?
Yeah, it's just too close to a past big event. We talked about this last week.
Yeah, we did.
This is just too close to another one of your big events. These big events need to be spaced out more.
And I think it was Doty who said maybe you just move Crockett Cup 6 months earlier.
Yeah.
For next year. This is like, to our points Willie had said earlier. I had to find this one. Why isn't Tyrus doing PR for NWA 75 on Fox News? I don't know that he isn't, but I don't have cable, and if I did, I wouldn't watch Fox News anyway. But to each their own. But if you're watching and he's not doing that, I'm not I'm not surprised.
That's
what did J-Cal say?
Too. J-Cal says if you disregard the last 70 years of the NWA prior to WPC, this is still the 5th of their first pay-per-view. So why aren't they treating it as a bigger deal? 5 is still a big anniversary as well.
Yeah, and you'd have to wait 5 more years for it to be another relatively big number.
Yeah.
You don't really spend the time to go to your grandparents' 76th wedding anniversary. It's 75, baby. Like, that's crazy. And Mandy had said earlier, I know we're past this, but on CVV, Billy was wearing an old NWA 73 shirt. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he was. So, I don't know. Willie wants to see more lady wrestlers, female wrestlers from Mission Pro or WOW as contenders for Camille and Pretty Empowered titles, or maybe they should be. I guess I think we're going to see what we're going to see.
Yeah.
At this point, from all the stuff we've been saying, let's talk about what we're going to see, guys. We are going to put the overlay on here and go through what we know for the matches so far. General order, but I don't know this because there is a new one. I don't know that this is perfectly the order. So at 75, of course, we know that the Brothers of Funstruction are up with Violent J. We have no idea who their opponents are. Yeah, Jeremy's making himself gag right now.
I like the Brothers of Funstruction. They are, clowns aside, they are a very serviceable tag team.
They are, yes. I like that term, serviceable. We have the number one contendership match on the pre-show, which I assume would be day one, Talos and Daisy Kill versus the Fixers. Okay. And then we have also on the pre-show Zion, spell it whatever way you want, with Austin Idol against Jordan Clearwater. And then this one popped up a couple of days ago. I don't have a proper one for it yet. I swear to God, it looks like someone puts Matt Vine's head on someone else's body. Like, whoever did this, his head looks too big. I don't know. Eric Jackson, Alec Taylor, Jack Cartwheel from AAA.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Koa Laxamana and Matt Vine in the Jubilee Jamboree. The winner faces the junior heavyweight champion in night 2, meaning that Colby Carino and Kerry Morton would therefore be assigned a night finally, which would be night 1. So, yeah, we do have, obviously, I don't know, honestly, look, I like both of these two talents. I don't know why they're not on the pre-show. Because why are they fighting? There's no story here.
Yeah.
Did you guys see Homicide's promo, by the way? When they asked him, I have no idea what he said. And I love you, Homicide. I love watching you in the ring, but I don't know what the reason was. I still don't know. I'm sorry if it's just me. We have Matt Cardona with the open challenge. Maybe Chris Adonis is, and then Allison Kay here to represent the Burke Invitational Gauntlet that Dave's going to fantasy book for us in a little bit. That will include, in addition to Allison Kay, CJ, who I'm going to take this down for a second. You guys watch Power?
Mm-hmm.
If you were Billy Corgan, would you have been standing there backstage watching CJ in the ring going, why have I slept on this for the past year or so? Like, she was great.
I've been asking that question since she came in.
Yeah. It's like the first move was like, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing. She falls down. And they're like, oh, God, they're going to do this. And they pick her up. Codebreaker. Like, what? And it was all uphill from there. I really enjoyed it. But in addition to CJ, Heather Monroe claps for me there. MJ Jenkins, who was on Gary on the show with Gary and the boys in the NWA. This is the Pro Wrestling Podcast. Ruthie J, who I think is a phenomenal talent, and we'll see her in HP Cares for Cooper in a bit. Samantha Starr, greatly improved. Sierra, Taylor Rising, and Wode, and obviously the to be determined entrance for the Gauntlet, which I'm sure Dave will probably speak to when he does this. So night 1 still, Kerry Morton, Colby Carino. A matter of respect, no DQ match. Just look at Jeremy. Yeah. Jack Stain versus Tim Storm. Thrillbilly Silas Mason, Kratos, and Odinson from the National Heavyweight Championship. It's interesting that Poyo is still standing beside Thrillbilly in the poster. So maybe that'll have something to do with this. And obviously, Camille versus Markova. I think we're heavy into night 2 right now. But night 1 would be La Rebellion versus Blunt Force Trauma. And then there's no poster for... Oh, yes, there is. Knox and Murdoch on night 2 take on the winner of La Rebellion and Blunt Force Trauma for the titles.
Yeah.
Then we have M95 taking on Pretty Empowered. And finally, of course, your main event for the evening, your co-main event, because Camille should always be your co-main event match right there anyway. It's Tyrus versus EC3, the bull rope match, career versus title, I guess. If he loses, that's it for Tyrus.
Well, to be honest, Camille's matches usually end up being the main event regardless of where they're at anyways.
Almost always. Always. Paladin, Corgan said that nostalgia doesn't sell. Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Okay, that's why Hollywood redoes every movie in existence.
Yeah, and he thought it was funny because they're celebrating 75 years of the NWA. Willie doesn't like Jordan Dirty Water. Yeah, they did one effing vignette with Alonzo, and they're having a match. Dumb. That's him and Homicide.
Yep.
Willie loves Allison Kay. Why? Because Billy. This is for CJ. Billy probably had no idea who she was outside of Jake. CJ fooled you. And zing. Hold the press, Heather Monroe. Yep. Exciting wrestling action. Yeah, way to bury the lead. You're right. That is the lead.
We know, Jay, you're BFFs with her. You flew to China and spent 14 hours chit-chatting. We know. You got her cookie recipe and everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it were me, I'd be telling you about it all the time.
Oh, I would too.
Yeah.
I still talk about the time I met Pauly Shore, so yeah.
Nice. Nostalgia doesn't sell, then why do the effing Crock and Cup and have effing Legends there? Yeah. I don't know. It's a mishmash of old and new, I think is how he looks at it. The match Tyrus should be EC3 should be career versus Tyrus's dinner. Oh.
Why? Now you know Tyrus is never going to lose a match like that. Why would you put that on the table, Willie?
Oh man. I look forward to I'm disappointed with the build, but I know that the pay-per-views are almost always great. I'm with Jay in that there's been 2, maybe 3 now with 312 that I didn't love. But beyond all that in the Lightning One era, there's always something new happening, and it's fun and it's exciting. But man, I wish the build had been something special.
Yeah.
For me, especially because I'm driving 10 hours to get there and from another country.
Right.
Coming down there. So I'm going to talk to the border guard when they say, why are you going in? I'm going to the NWA 75th anniversary. And he should be going, you're going to NWA 75?
Lucky I'll tell you.
It's not going to happen. He's going to look at me like, okay, pop the trunk.
We'd probably more likely to say, wait, the NWA's been out for 75 years. Did they drop a new album?
Yep.
Didn't they die when WCW was formed? All right. Listen. Billy said recently that they sued the NWA, the band, and won, or maybe Dave Marquez said that actually. That they sued them and won at one point. I'd never heard anything about that.
I hadn't either.
Anyway, what do we got? Hey, listen, guys, I want you to take a look at what Rick Del Santo is doing over on his site. Every week, it seems like Rick has a new name from the independent circuit that he is talking to over there. They come across my feed so often. I'm like, oh, they're showing this same video again? Nope, it's somebody new. Rick's got a new guy on there, and they're really interesting talks. Take a look at this just for a sec.
PWZ Podcast with Rick Del Santo. For all your wrestling reviews, interviews, and news, Rick covers the United Wrestling Network, the NWA, and the Northeast region of the United States independent scene. PWZ keeps you in the zone.
I hope you wrote that link down. It's youtube.com/@PWZ Network. That's what it is for me anyway. So go over there, subscribe to Rick, give him some love. Rick is an amazing guy. Let us take a look at HP Cares for Cooper, guys. This is the show back from July 8th. There was a charity show for I forget Cooper's last name, but he was wounded and placed in a wheelchair as a result of a violent incident in Highland Park over a year ago now. And the NWA had this charity event where they raised some money for Cooper and his brother Luke, who was also wounded, but not as tragically put into a wheelchair for that matter. But there's bills, right? There's medical bills for their stuff. There's other things to support. And so the NWA did this charity show. Super proud of our company of choice for doing so. And they put on, I thought, a pretty good card overall for the show. And now, as we get into this show, it's been redubbed, right? Like or not redubbed, but it has been dubbed by Joe Galley.
Yeah.
Because it did happen on July 8th, and he's done it at least a month later with all of the things that have happened in the NWA since then. no complaints by me there.
Yep.
But it started off with the NWA US Tag Team title match. By the way, no color commentary other than Joe, which was fine. For this, no segments. It was just a bunch of matches, 5 matches out of probably the 10 or 12 that the entire card actually had. The Savages are out with Chris Silvio first. They played great heels, like as we know, obviously. They just make their way to the ring, and they don't stop to show you that they got a heart for Cooper and his family who are sitting in the front row. But the country gents do. They come out with a whole bunch of merch for Cooper and his brother Luke. Did you notice he's got Anthony Andrews had the HP Cares for Cooper logo painted on his chaps?
I saw that up on the thigh area.
Yeah, it was super cool.
Yep.
Yeah, they give him some merch, kind of punch in with him as a bunch of the wrestlers do. And as they get in the ring and they're getting their gear off, they're jumped by the Savages. Kazana ends up taking them both out of the ring right off the bat, and then starts off with Jack Stain. Stain immediately hits what I thought was the move of the match, an over the top belly to belly that just smokes Kazana right. Like, wow, like AJ Kazana is not a small guy, right?
Right.
And Jack's still showing you that he's a power machine. But AJ does recover quickly, takes control. He and Andrews double team on Jack Stain. They do that double elbow drop move. Then we get Troop distracting from the apron while Silvio chokes Andrews on the ropes with his scarf. And Dane kind of takes control with his Samoan drop. He tags in Troop for a really dangerous looking German suplex that he kind of releases. I think it was Andrews, and he kind of hits it off to the side, and it didn't look clean and safe. But that kind of, we'll talk about Troop as we go along here. But there's a strange lack of fluidity. Troop is still learning the cadence of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Right. He really has trouble transitioning his feet a couple of times. If you watch this one, he goes one way and then has to turn around because he's gone the wrong way that you're supposed to turn.
Yeah.
But he needs more experience, and that's what these kind of things are for. Anyway, he's got a rib injury from his MMA tournament, his jiu-jitsu tournament somewhere. He collapses trying to lift Andrews. They both tag out. Kazana takes control. His cover on Dane is broken up by Troop. And he's tossed out as the gents they end up trying to double team Jack Stain. He reverses it in another, he suplexes both of the country gentlemen by himself, which was neat. I'll skip a bit, but what happens near the end is that Andrews pulls Jax outside the ring, but he himself is thrown into the steel ring post. They're up fighting at the end. Kazana's in the corner. Troop goes for a diving chop and misses. Kazana hits a power slam on Troop, and Silvio can't get in time to break up the pin. It's a clean 1-2-3 as Kazana pins Blake Troop so the gentlemen retain the titles. Overall, good match, guys. For the type of event that we're watching,
right?
Andrews has gotten better. I gotta give it to him. He has continued to improve over the year. Troop really needs more time to find his feet. And I left writing down, I'm glad that now the Savages seem to be resolving, because I think I just need Jack Stain on his own to go be Jack Stain and that type of thing. What did you think, Jeremy?
I enjoyed the match for what it was. Troop brings a good energy. This is something that he really seems like he wants. I think he may have just spent too much time in the octagon instead. A lot of his stuff comes across awkwardly.
Yeah.
from his wrestling moves to his promos, he comes across very awkwardly for a wrestler. And it's kind of sad because the guy could be something.
Yeah, and he may still be.
He may still be, right. But right now, it's just he needs a lot of work, I feel.
I feel like when Brock Lesnar made the transition, or even Steve Blackman back in the day, or Dan Severn, they were just better right off the bat.
Yeah.
He's got the look down, this Troop does, but I don't see it yet. But I agree with you. What do you think, Dave?
Well, like Jeremy was saying, he's so used to the octagon where you react.
Right.
You react to what's happening. Spoiler, wrestling is quote unquote choreographed ballet. It is you know what's going to happen, and I'm not sure he knows how to adjust.
Yeah.
Overall, it was a good match, but I mean, I think that's why they put him with Dane, is to give him someone to look up to and learn from. Plus, he doesn't have to be in the ring 100% of the time.
Right.
It can be pared down to even 20-25% of the time he can be in there. But it's one of these things of it's time to step up or step out.
Right.
That he's mixing the worlds of MMA and wrestling. And it's very hard to remind yourself inside your head, this is real and this is fake.
Yeah.
And I hate to say the fake word, but it's real up to a certain point, but it's protected. But it's one of these things of he's been wrestling, doing MMA for so long, it gets in his mind and gets in his way of him actually performing. Because I think he is overthinking things.
Yeah.
There was actually a spot where he was thrown into the corner and he turned like you would, because he's kind of landed on his side.
Mm-hmm.
You turn to be open to your opponent, and you can see him turn back completely the other way because he's supposed to go to the right for whatever move is coming next. I don't remember, right?
Yeah.
Like he was about to be clotheslined by the right arm of Kazan or something. He's like, I got to be over here. And it's just that footwork that he's got to get down. He's got the look.
Yeah.
You know, another thing I noticed about him too, and I'm not accusing him of this because I don't know enough about the athleticism of our chosen, sport. But I look at Dane, and Dane sometimes at the end of the match might have a bit of sweat on him, right? And he's working hard. Troop is just dying out there. Like he's just covered in like he's wet.
I noticed that. I noticed though that whenever he's on that ring apron, he rarely stands still.
Yeah.
He's constantly bouncing off the balls of his feet. He's moving from ring post to ring post. He is active on that ring apron whenever he's out there. Almost 99% of the time, he is moving.
Right.
So, I don't know if that plays into it. I don't know. I like it because he's active, but put that into working up the crowd instead of bouncing around,
Right. Hey, just to the chat quick before we go on with this card. The NWA, Jay says, the rap group sued the NWA members, the National Wrestling Alliance, and the members won. Okay, that's great. Good to know. Thank you, boss. Mike says, not a lot of enthusiasm in the crowd. I thought there was good energy, like throughout the whole thing. No one was standing on their feet, but I mean,
well, they did at the end.
That's true. They did at the end, yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think I think there was a decent mix of first timers and stuff. Everybody reacted where they should have. And whenever like Angelina Love was like would point to the crowd and they'd start going and stuff. I don't know. There was a lot of kids there. Maybe they weren't wanting to be super loud. Maybe there was some babies there or something. I don't know. But I kind of get where Mike's coming from because they were just kind of until they were prompted to. But they were in for it. I think they were there for everything going on, just a little subdued.
Right. Well, I mean, it wasn't a massive crowd. I don't think it was supposed to be.
Right.
But I thought it was okay energy for what it was. Speaking of Angelina Love, Jeremy, what happened next?
Oh, God. So next we had Ruthie J versus Angelina Love. Angelina started out in control a little bit for the opening of the match until Ruthie was able to block an Irish whip and kicked Angelina in the midsection. And then with a well-timed drop-down leapfrog, drop-down combo, followed up with a very nice-looking drop kick, then some double knees in the corner. She followed that up with a body slam and a 2-count pin. Good Lord, that was a mouthful. Angelina then retreated to the floor and harassed some poor child that was sitting in the audience, trying to get her to get in the ring for her. That poor kid looked terrified, man. It looked like he saw the Babadook or something, man. He looked scared. From here, they started to even out the offense and defense some. At one point, Ruthie had Angelina in the corner and was on the second turnbuckle with the crowd counting down the shots, and Angelina managed to get Ruthie up and powerbomb her. But even with her feet on the rope, Angelina only got a 2 count. Love then went for the Botox injection, but Ruthie sidestepped it and hoisted Love up on her shoulders. Love raked the eyes and got a roll-up pin and grabbed the tights, but Ruthie reversed it into a roll-up of her own and then bridged for a 3-count win. Ruthie was definitely the star of this match for me, just because she had the benefit of going against Angelina Love. Anybody that had been across her would have been the star of this for me. I don't care for Angelina Love. She's very. She comes across as a little awkward in the ring to me at times. But Ruthie J was phenomenal in this. She had that drop kick that she gave. She got completely horizontal with that whenever she connected. And it was pretty. Overall, it was a good match. I appreciated that Angelina worked the crowd as much as she did for the match. But unfortunately, Ruthie got put across from Angelina Love. You know, I can't give it a Meltzer 5-star rating here. I give it 3 1/4.
3 1/4. What did you think, Dave?
It was a good match in being that Ruthie J is new to the NWA. Angelina Love has been in the business long enough that little things should matter.
Yeah.
And she should be the ring general, even though she doesn't have to make it look like she's the ring general.
Right.
Yeah.
She should be helping out the younger talent, which I think she is doing up to a certain point. But I think she still has on her shoulder, I'm one of the beautiful people. And you can't always go from what you were. Sometimes you have to go from what you are now.
Yeah.
Right now, she's there to help the younger talent as well as be a manager or partner up with Fodder to bring him and move him up the ladder slowly but surely. But it's one of these things of I'd give it maybe a 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
It was a good, solid match, and they did what they needed to do to tell the story. That you had your heel barking at the crowd.
Yep.
You had your baby face coming out on top, winning. And I think this is a slow build, or at least I would use it as a slow build to down the line push Ruthie J towards the women's TV title.
Yeah.
I think she's one of the best young talents, given the little time that she's been around. I've seen it in a long time. I will. You guys kind of touched on it. I will give Angelina Love, so to speak, her flowers here, like she has been all season. She is putting people over. And she still comes out looking like she's something.
Yeah.
Whatever that thing is. I kind of wonder though, just as you were saying that, Dave, like maybe her gimmick staying the same is what makes her gimmick change as she continues to naturally, like all of us, grow older, right? Mm-hmm. What if she's at 55 going, I'm one of the beautiful people? It'd be hilarious. We'd all love it.
Meryl Streep. What was that movie with her and Goldie Hawn where they found the fountain of youth, but they kept falling apart?
God, I don't remember that one.
Mm.
Huh.
I got
She's great on Only Murders in the Building this season, by the way, if you're watching that show. Meryl Streep's on that.
I haven't seen that one yet. It's on the list, though.
Fun show. Dave, you're up. We got an upset victory, maybe sort of there with Ruthie J over Angelina Love, but we got Mario Pardua and Joe Alonzo taking on the Southern Six.
To me, I understood what they were doing. This is one of those matches that I maybe wouldn't have shown, being that there's people you're pushing and there's people you aren't pushing. But because of the location and this was a charity event, Joe Alonzo and Mario Pardua, they ended up pulling out the victory.
Yeah.
Over the Southern Six, which this close to a pay-per-view and having the Southern Six being represented and seen in a losing battle, it doesn't do them any favors. But the thing is, they're not actually at 75 unless they come out and challenge someone to a tag match. They're all in singles matches. So it sort of saves Thrillbilly in that he didn't lose himself. But being that Taylor took the loss, he can redeem the loss maybe in that junior jamboree that they're having.
Right.
But it's one of these things. I understand what they were doing, having the home team win or the local talent. But it's one of those that maybe if this was shown 2 or 3 weeks ago, it wouldn't have hurt the talent as much. But to me, it was just wrong place, wrong time for them to show this match.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't show this match, they could have shown 1 or 2 other matches in this place, because until this was released, I had a very hard time finding spoilers online of what happened.
Same.
At HB Cares. So it was one of those things of there was a mix of everything. You had your power moves, your double teaming, you had some comedy spots, but I mean, like when he ended up taking over Alex's arm and he's just beating the hell out of him and just trying to rip his arm off, not realizing that it is actually Alex and not one of his opponents. It's some of the funny ha-ha, but they don't need to do that right now. If they're trying to actually build the Southern Six as something to be looked at as a serious faction. They need to figure out continuity, figure out who is actually in the Southern Six, get Danny Deals away from them if he is no longer part of the Southern Six. I realize he was there probably in place of Ricky Morton, who wasn't at the event.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of those things that you have to look and go, okay, we've made switches and Danny Deals is not part of the current Southern Six. So let's not show this match, or he can come out with them, but let's not make mention that he's basically, maybe he wandered out there because he and Alex used to be under the same umbrella.
Right.
But it's just one of those things of, it wasn't a bad match, but it wasn't the match I would have put out there.
Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was a lot of matches to choose from, and I know you want to highlight this team, but by the way, didn't Taylor get pinned again?
Yep.
I mean, forget who it was in the Discord. I was like, what does Taylor do now? Just eat pins for the Southern Six? Is that now his job? He was doing better before he was in the Southern Six. And
yeah.
What'd you think, Jeremy?
It was a good match. You know, I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, I agree. Well, you had a recent rivalry up next with Daisy Kill and Talos taking on Knox and Murdoch.
Yep. As Daisy made his entrance, Talos was suspiciously absent, and Daisy offered to sing a song to the crowd. As he was singing, Talos got in the ring behind Trevor and Knox and blindsided them with clubbing forearms to the back. When the bell did ring, Trevor and Daisy were the legal men. Trevor made sure to keep Daisy isolated as he tagged in Knox. Knox got Daisy into the corner and landed some brutal chops against Daisy's chest, and Daisy sold them perfectly, and he did. Did you see the anguish in that man's face whenever he got those?
Yeah.
That was nice. Knox then whipped Daisy into the corner, but Daisy was able to pop up over a charging Knox at the last moment, causing the big man to go chest first into the turnbuckle. After this, Daisy distracted the ref, and this allowed Talos to level Knox with a big clothesline on the ring apron. Daisy then threw Knox into Talos's boot before tagging him in. Talos scooped Knox up with ease for a high sidewalk slam, and then tagged Daisy back in. This was the first time in a long time seeing Knox on the defense like this. He was able to finally land a crossbody on Daisy as he came off the ropes. When he finally made it to the right corner, made the hot tag, Daisy was unable to make his tag, but Talos still attempted to make his way in and was quickly met by Trevor, who had some forearm shots to show Talos. Talos did his best to stop Trevor, but was dropped by a clothesline. Murdoch then went up and got Talos with a bulldog. Knox came in and clotheslined back to his feet, Talos over the top rope and went over two. Then Daisy grabbed Murdoch and ripcorded him into a hook kick and made a pin, but could only get a 2.5. As Trevor got back to his feet, Daisy threw him into the corner and charged, but was met with the boot to the face. As he staggered about, Knox and Trevor nailed the high-low, and Trevor pulled the leg up, and the ref made the count for the 3. After the match, BFT ran into the ring to attack Murdoch, but they were able to overcome him and send him running back to the back. Great match. I liked it. Talos is just one big dude, and that clothesline that Trevor ate, he took it perfectly. It looked nasty. I like Daisy Kill a lot. I like the character and the wrestler. He's an interesting guy. I hope that he's around for a while. I know that people don't like calling him, wonder why he's called Daisy Kill. Why would a grown man call himself Daisy? He's got a 7-foot fucker behind him. That's why you call yourself Daisy. You call yourself whatever you want whenever you got somebody like Talos behind you.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny because, like, on Power, Talos wrestled Judas last night.
Yeah.
And just to see Judas looking up at Talos, like, and Gally commented on it, like, you don't see that too often. He is that big.
He
7 feet.
Huge.
Yeah. What'd you think, Dave?
I like the match, and that they are building up another good tag team.
Yeah.
And it's one of these things that they're using veterans to help the younger guys work a good match. I'm not saying that Daisy Kill and Talos don't work a good match, but they work a different style of match.
Yeah.
That if they're willing to take what's given to them advice wise, it's one of these things that, I mean, Talos, a 7-foot tall guy, he shouldn't be losing to anybody.
Right.
Right.
But it's one of those things that it takes a special person to accept defeat. And it's one of these that even in losses, people can be built. It's like they say, going over and getting over.
Right.
Daisy Kill and Talos are slowly but surely getting over. They still do. He does his little ukulele and all this kind of stuff. But the team is starting to grow on me. And I mean, Talos as a monster, like Tim said, when Judas is looking up at a guy, yeah, anybody over 6'5" that ends up having to look up at somebody in a match, you've got something special there.
Yep.
Don't ruin it, and keep him up to the point where he comes in for the power moves and make this a special team, almost a Mutt and Jeff, where Talos does the power moves and Daisy Kill takes the abuse, but then when they do get the win, it's a win for both of them.
Yeah.
You know, even if you were using Talos as a singles wrestler, like, he's pretty new to the sport, right? Overall.
Mm-hmm.
So if let's just assume he can't cut a promo, because we've never heard him really say anything yet. But if that's the case, you could just say, like, Talos, you'd have to go like this, but Talos, you're facing whoever tonight. You could just have Talos point to Daisy, and Daisy can just go, all right, let me tell you what Jack Talos is going to say right now. Just have him talk for you. Like, they remind me of those Warner Brothers cartoons with the big bulldog and the little bouncy one.
Oh yeah,
Spike is my friend. Yeah. Yeah, they're growing on me a bit too. I didn't dig them much at first, but Dave, you got the main event. You got the NWA television title match.
Yeah, and first off, why is it a title match if they weren't planning on having the 605? And I don't know. I mean, Jay Bradley, he can wrestle, but why are you having, I mean, granted, it was a charity show and they brought in talent that was available.
Right.
But why have a tag team wrestler go for the TV title?
Right.
It's one of these things of make it make sense. This was a good back and forth, and there's not many guys that get in the ring with Latimer that can match him size-wise and ability-wise. Now, for being a tag team wrestler, I thought Bradley did a hell of a job of being in there 100% of the time. It was a very good back and forth, very good physical match. And I'm giving it more or less a buy because of the size of Jay Bradley.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a good, like I said, good back and forth match. Tom comes out with the victory, but does this count towards his 7?
I would think so.
Yeah.
He's defending the title.
Yeah.
But they need to do a little more explaining. I had to watch it twice. I usually watch it once just to enjoy it. Then I'll watch it again to make notes. And it was a good big guy match, back and forth. And it pushes Latimer towards 75, but we still don't know who he's going to face.
Yeah.
And I mean, if this was a charity event and they weren't planning on showing it, why have a TV title being defended?
Yeah. Yeah.
Granted, they did end up showing it, and I'm glad they did. It was a good match. I'd give it maybe 3.25 stars. But it's I'll give the NWA a little leeway in that this being a charity event, but they need to tighten up on how they run things. That if you're going to have a TV title match, bring the 6:05 clock out. If you're going to have certain types of matches, the rules should apply anywhere that match is being taken place.
Right. I agree.
I mean, overall, like I said, 3.25 stars, maybe 4. It was a good match, but it just left me scratching my head. Why have a tag team wrestler if you're going to have Tom win, put over a local talent as almost being able to win?
I wondered, and I don't know anything, obviously, but I wondered if there was a conversation with Cooper. Who do you like in the NWA, buddy? I'm a huge Tom Latimer fan. I love, ooh, boo, Angelina Love, boo, she's bad, or, I love the gentleman. They're like, all right, there's your winners, like,
yeah.
I wondered if that was maybe part of it.
Oh, that could have been.
Yeah. In which case, hey, even better on the NWA in the end. But what did you think of this one, Jeremy? What did you think of the whole thing? Yeah,
I liked it. I got to see Tom Latimer fight, and Jay Bradley. He's a phenomenal talent as well. He's just been overlooked for a long time. It was a good match. I enjoyed it. I'll give it 3.5, 4 stars.
Yeah, it's higher than I'd go, but mad respect to both of those guys. I saw a interview, it might even been Rick Delsano with Wrecking Ball Legursky. I know they're buddies.
Yeah.
Said, I knew Jay vaguely before he called me and said, hey, do you want to form a tag team?
Yep.
On the phone? Sure. So that's kind of cool. All right. Well, that was the show. I mean, overall, I thought it was pretty good for what it was. I'm excited to review the NWA again.
Yeah.
Which is not to say I didn't enjoy, and we will go back to, I'm sure, MLW in times of need, but I'm happy just to see some NWA content coming out. Let's call that one done. And where the heck are everything just changes around this stuff. Here we go. Let's go over to this fellow here in a segment we call, for the United Wrestling Network, Championship Wrestling from Jeremy.
Need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
The following is a presentation of the United Wrestling Network.
It's time for Championship Wrestling from Jeremy.
Top matches and honorable mentions of the week. Sometimes if he feels like throwing them in. What do you got for us this week, buddy?
This week we've got the Murder Hawk Monster Lance Archer versus Cruel Mads Kruger in an Everybody Dies casket match from Memphis. This was not a wrestling match in the traditional sense. This was more of a fight between two behemoths looking to show they were the more dominant. There was no fancy technical holds, no death-defying dives, no innovation that is going to change the business for years to come happened in this match. Just two big, tall guys looking to fight and get a W in their column, and that's what I wanted to see. Archer attempted to put Cruel in the casket after Cruel had bounced his head off it a few times. The action went back into the ring where Archer had to hit Cruel with 4 shoulder tackles before Cruel hit the mat. Cruel then grabbed Archer by the throat from a prone position on the mat and got up. Archer broke the hold and hit Cruel with an elbow, followed up with a choke slam, and Cruel rolled to the outside. Archer followed and got Cruel set up on the casket before smashing his head into it about a half dozen times or so, and then made the cover for the win. Like I said, there was nothing fancy in this match, no technical wrestling or anything like that. Just two big old boys duking it out with each other.
Like Mike says, open the fucking casket, you dummy. He pinned him on top of the closed casket.
Looking at it, though, he'd have had to been either one of them would have had to have been a contortionist to fit in there, though. And
it's
all
true. Yeah. I mean, you know what I love about Memphis, just quick before you move on, is that, they got their storylines. You got Austin Lane and Tim Bosby, right? You got Reverend Ash Taylor and the Righteous Path, and you got like Ray Stevens or whatever. Well, not Stevens, God, not Ray Stevens. Anyway, you got everyone doing their feuds, and then every once in a while they're like, "Oh my God, Lance Archer's here. He's gonna have a match with Cruel. They're gonna kill each other." The crowds are like, "What?" And then it happens, and then it's kind of like, "Okay, we'll see you next time, guys," and we'll go back to our regular stuff. Like, there's no lead up. It's just Lance Archer's this week. Someone's gonna die next week.
Yep.
And then next week it's that match, and they hate each other so much. And then week 3, they're gone.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's just different, and I kind of dig it.
And shout out to the Dollar Tree Hollywood Jimmy Blaylock that was in the crowd. That was pulling off a better Jimmy Blaylock than Jimmy Blaylock.
Yeah, better than me.
And then for our Championship Wrestling presented by Car Shield match of the week, I went with the United Television Championship match between Papo Esco versus Jack Banning in a Bodega Street fight. Banning came out in jeans and a t-shirt and carrying a straight jacket. Gorilla Ray Gordo, Papo Esco. I love that shirt. That shirt was so awesome. He brought a trash can of various weaponry out with him. Much like the Memphis match, this was not a technical masterpiece, and it didn't need nor should it have been. Crutches, canes, and chains got used. I even got to see Papo use a pineapple to dole out some punishment.
That was hilarious.
Honest was the first of the institution to try and get involved, but Papo dealt with him quickly. Then Brendan Devine was next to come out, and he was also dealt with quite quickly. Danny came out to use his bandana and choke Jack on the ropes while Papo whipped him with a belt. During this time, Savannah Stone slid into the ring and landed a well-placed low blow on the no-no zone of Esco. The one person absent from all of this was Slice Boogie, and the commentary was quick to point it out. Had he been there, he would have been able to help Danny, but instead, While he was being held by Divine and Honest, he had to watch while Banning hit Papa with a crutch twice before locking the guillotine choke on him in the middle to retain for the United Television Championship. This was a brutal match.
It was.
Papo got a red mask. The levels that the institution are willing to go to ensure that the doors stay open to their cells is phenomenal. After this, we got great. The entire show was great. You got the show opened with Martinson, and he was supposed to face Bateman, but instead Bateman sent Derby City's Aaron Williams in his place, and that was a hell of a match. Aaron Williams got over big with that crowd. And then for the main event, we got the Golden Opportunity Finals, which saw Slice Boogie face off against Zicky Dice and Jordan Clearwater. And during that match, Jordan Clearwater got a visit from Invictus Cash. There are a lot of stories brewing in the UWN Championship Wrestling presented by CarShield, and there's so many people that Danny has to look over his shoulder for right now. You're not seeing that anyplace else. You're not seeing multiple people gunning for a world champion. Naturally, world champion anywhere has a target on their back, but you're not seeing there's what, 4 people that are number 1 contenders for Limelight's title right now.
Yep.
You've got
Clearwater. You've got
Bad Dude Tito.
Bad Dude Tito. Yeah.
You've got Moose.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Invictus Cash is also one.
Yep.
And you've got Slice Boogie as well, and Moose. I believe Moose is he also has to, or no, he already faced Moose, didn't he?
He did. It just hasn't aired yet.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of beef in that stew that Dave's cooking up for everybody. Yeah. As I say always, if you're not watching Championship Wrestling presented by CarShield, Memphis and Derby City Wrestling, may the next corner you walk around have a Stan the Hansen lariat waiting for you to knock some intelligence into you.
He can't see, so it's your job to move.
Yep.
Oh,
man.
That would work.
Man, there's some comments. It's like it's the mic hour here in the chat right now. Where are we? Yeah, back to Memphis. There's the laziest thing he's ever seen is not opening the casket. They could have gotten in with the legs hanging out. It was pure laziness. I don't know.
Well, at one point, Archer, at the beginning of the match, Archer did attempt to put Kruger into the casket. But it was just too small of a casket, though, bro.
Yeah, I agree. Okay match for the Esco and why am I now suddenly blanking? The Bodega Street fight. The TV champ. Sorry, thank you, Banning. God. Mike says it's an okay match. You can tell Esco's age is showing. Well, all the more reason to get him over in the NWA and like give that guy a TV title run or something. He's awesome.
The reason why I didn't pick the Boogie match, I saw it coming from a mile away.
It was telegraphed pretty.
I was really hoping that Zicky was going to win. He doesn't have to win the title afterwards, but I would have rather, me personally, Zicky had snuck the win in, and then that just fired up Boogie that much more.
Yeah, I mean it was so obvious with everything that had happened that that's what we're leading up to, because now we're going to end up with Boogie and Limelight and the whole bit. I think Mike agrees with you. You know what? Weird shout out here, just if I may. Weird shout out, Jeremy, to Honest John. because that guy is always the first guy through the wall, man. And he gets mowed down so often, and he's good.
He is so good, man. He is really, really good. I like the guy because he's really good as a talent, but also he looks like Unseen Shifter in the chat. My buddy, my son's friend Skeletor, they look exactly alike. They could pass for brothers. I shit you not.
Really?
I'll post a picture of him in our Discord and show you. They could pass for brothers.
Speaking of pictures, we talked about this before the show. Have you guys, because Dave Marquez just put this up 3-4 hours ago, have you guys seen the new UWN World Women's Championship belt? Leather by Dan, belts by Dan. Look at this thing. It has, let me take the banner off for a second. Look at that thing. It is even more beautiful than the art suggested that it would be. Oh my God, I love this belt. It is reminiscent, if you're not of a UWN viewer, and if you're not to steal Jeremy's thunder, but if you're not a fan, then may the flies of 1,000 camels infest your armpits. That's an old MASH reference. It's reminiscent of the UWN World Championship that Danny Limelight holds right now. It's made by the same guy, and wow, it's done and it looks great. He's going to have his tournament shortly. Dave Marquez Productions is obviously behind that, and I look forward to it. So seeing that belt, but also seeing that tournament, because what a great promotion the UWN is.
It is a visually eye-capturing belt. I mean, it just grabs your attention. It is visually pleasing. It checks all the boxes. It has the right balance of silver and gold to it, and additional colors added in there. It's just beautiful. And then the strap itself is that burgundy wine color instead of a black. Just pops it off that much more whenever it catches the light. That is a work of art.
I love the Angels side plates.
Yeah.
I mean, they look great. The flags at the top, just, I don't know, the work that was put into this by Dan and I'm sure Dave and everything. It's so funny because I love the Burke, who Dan Van Alst also made. But over the last few years, actually, it's bigger now, so I'm sure there's a different version. I did ask on his website. I didn't check for the answer, but it's pitted. And from what I understand about belt making, there's an oxygenation process that will get to the belt after a while and make it look duller.
Yeah.
And obviously, the leather wears, you got to re-leather it and the whole stuff. And you can make it look next to new again. But this one just looks like there's so much going on without too much going on. I really like it.
Yeah.
If you're not a fan, what does Mike say? May your ovaries explode. Well.
I'm not wishing infertility on anybody.
Bit far. It's just pro wrestling, Mike.
My.
Well, that escalated quickly.
Escalate quickly. Thank you very much, my friend. Do you know what else might escalate quickly? It's the worst transition in all of this podcast so far. The Burke Invitational Gauntlet, which will now be fantasized. Fantasy booked by our friend Dave Steve. No, I meant to say fantasy booked. My wife's.
I know, real quick. Did you guys see Chris Silvio post another thirst trap? This time from FetCon.
No.
He posted on Twitter another one of his little thirst trap tweets, but this time he was standing in front of the FetishCon fucking sign.
Really?
Yeah, I swear.
Wow.
He's
That's a horse of a different color right there, guys.
Yes, let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
Dave, book
Yes.
us the NWA 75 Burke Invitational Gauntlet.
It's featuring 9 ladies battling for a chance at going after the champion, going after the Burke on night 2, whether that be Camille or if Markova does defeat Camille and become the new champion. It'll take place on night 2 of 75. There's currently 9 women that are in the Invitational Gauntlet, but there's also that TBA to be announced. So there could be 10, there could be maybe 12, who knows? But these are the 9 that we know of so far. Former NWA Women's and Tag Champion Allison Kay. She's already faced Camille several times for the belt. I don't think there's a need for a redo, but having a former champion in there builds up the equity of all the wrestlers involved in the gauntlet itself. Plus, she is a known wrestler.
Right. She's
That
a name.
if you don't know her from ROH or Impact or the NWA, she's been around for quite a while and has been champions in, I'd say, I believe almost every company she's worked for. CJ is another one. She's finally returning to the ring. This time not in a mixed tag, but she is currently working heel with Magic Jake. I'm glad to see her back. She can wrestle. She currently wrestles outside of the NWA, and I never understood why they chose not to let her wrestle. But I'm stoked just to see her finally get back in the ring. Her wrestling, she could either be put in a feud with Kenzie for the TV title if she doesn't win the gauntlet match, or if they choose to do mixed tag matches, present her that way. That there's enough women that are already paired up with men to do a mixed tag match every once in a while. Next, we come to Heather Monroe. She's returning to the NWA as a singles wrestler. In Chicago, she wrestled as part of the Hollywood Blondes with Ray Lynn. And I believe Ray Lynn, I know her and her husband recently moved down to Texas. And if you don't know, her husband is Sam Adonis El Rudo. He does a lot of wrestling for AAA. So I believe she's that Ray Lynn is still under contract with Women of Wrestling. And due to that fact, she's not quote unquote allowed, or it's frowned upon for her to wrestle in other televised wrestling organizations. But Heather Monroe is available. She's a very experienced wrestler. She could be a contender for Camille, and she has the experience. Camille has improved immensely since she started wrestling, but it's always good to have someone in there that has as much, if not more, experience to help you through a match, so you're not always relying on, oh, I got to hit this power move, I got to do this, I got to do this. It helps to work with someone that is willing to work with you to make you look better in the ring.
Right.
MJ Jenkins, she's a former NXT wrestler.
Yep.
And a few seasons ago wrestled with the NWA, as well as she wrestled at the Boca event. She is a very qualified wrestler. She could also be another opponent for Kenzie for the TV title. Now, with this gauntlet being set up, they're looking for someone to win to go against Camille. But you're also showing some women that can go for the lower title, the TV title.
Right.
And it's not that they all have to be contenders, but if you have 4 women, they can be used at the tapings, and it's a 4-way battle for your next contender for the TV title.
Sure.
They're building equity in the women's division, even though not all these women are full-time wrestlers for the NWA. That it's always good to have different faces show up every couple seasons and see how they've improved, and just to give the other wrestlers and other champions in the NWA a variety of contenders, so it's not always so-and-so against so-and-so, wrestler A against wrestler B.
Right.
They can also take some of these wrestlers and tag them up to go after M95 or whoever is the current or future women's tag champion.
Right.
Ruthie J. She's been used in the past few NWA events. She just beat Angelina Love and won a match against Kenzie by DQ, disqualification.
Yeah.
They're building her up for, I'd say down the line, give her maybe 2 more tapings and another pay-per-view, and she could possibly be one of the top contenders for that TV title if they decide to push Kenzie up the ladder. Let's see, Samantha Starr. She has the name, and she's a generational star, being the daughter of Baby Doll and the daughter of Sam Houston. She is the history and the legacy of being in a family of NWA talent from the past. Now, just build her up over the next year. She's been 50-50. Either build her up to go after the TV title, or, like I said, tag her up with 1 or 2, give them a couple different partners to see what works out. That if she's wrestling somebody and they have a good match, she shakes hands and goes, "I'd rather be your partner than fight you again." Boom. It's another tag team that they've made. Sierra, she was at the Chicago 312.
Right.
And she's a very good, solid wrestler, and she's young. She started when she was, I believe, 16, training. She'd had a few matches to put over the Page sisters, but like I said with Samantha Starr, why not tag them up, put them together, see what they can do? It's always good to have, if they're not going after a singles title, why not tag them up? Give them a chance to make that belt mean something. Now, Taylor Rising. I watched a few of her matches. I had never heard of Taylor Rising, and she's from the Toronto area, Canadian wrestler. She's wrestled on Dark, worked a few matches with Markova out on the Independents. And from what I could see, I watched maybe 3 of her matches. She can go in the ring. She doesn't have a lot of size, but she is muscular, if that makes sense. She's cut. She's in very good cardio condition.
Mm-hmm.
Her and Markova went, I think, 12 minutes, which is a pretty decent amount of time for a singles match. She is my wild card. I've just seen her on YouTube. I looked online. I really couldn't tell. She's maybe 5'5", 5'6", but she is muscular. She's not as muscular or as big as Camille, but compared to a lot of the other wrestlers that are in the gauntlet, I'd say she's middle of the pack, but she does have some power moves. She can go in the ring. So she's my wild card to possibly win if Heather Monroe doesn't win this gauntlet match.
Yeah, I'm just looking at her now online, and maybe I'll put a photo up. Like, they're all pretty thirst trappy, but she is in excellent athletic condition for sure.
Yes. And finally, we have the Woad. She's worked with Markova on the Indies earlier this year in Tampa at the tapings. She faced Samantha Starr. This was the tapings right after Nuff Said. She's worked Mission Pro. She's worked Shine. So she knows what she's doing in the ring.
Right.
So it's one of these things of she could possibly be another wild card. She does have some size to her. And if you don't know what Woad means, it's the weapon of ass destruction. That is her finishing move. And I myself wouldn't want to take that move. It could do some harm to you. Now, with the TBA, there's 9 contestants, but you have the TBA, and everybody's like, who would we like to see be a surprise entry into this gauntlet match? Could this be Tessa Blanchard? Would she show her face? Could she show her face in the NWA? And like Tim just did, fingers are crossed.
Yep.
Now she has a lot of history with the NWA without being in the NWA. Her dad, Tully Blanchard, part of the Four Horsemen. Her stepfather is Magnum TA. It's one of these things, it would be a second chance for her.
I mean, not to cut you off, but Marty Skrull just posted on Instagram today, "Did you miss me?" And then like hashtag AAA.
Yeah.
So, you know, and Jake Cal has often said in the past, where else is the best place to rehab your career than the National Wrestling Alliance?
Yeah. Now, Tessa was married to Daga, and I believe as of now they are separated, but Daga wrestles for AAA, which the NWA sort of has ties to or have worked together. He was the wrestler that Tyrus ended up facing and was injured in Mexico. It's one of these things of sometimes if wrestlers are willing to put past relationships aside, they can work for the same company, but it's a wait and see. La Rosa Negra has made up with, or I don't know if she's made up, but she has at least forgiven Tessa for statements that were made. I'm not going to make any of those statements. If you want to know what the statements are, it's easily Googleable. You can look online, but this could be a spark to get her career back on track. This weekend, she'll be in Chicago, wrestling for Warrior Wrestling. And I was looking to see, does she have anything planned? She has this weekend, but unfortunately, she's going to be in Austria the weekend of NWA 75. She's wrestling for the Glam Women's title at the Rings of Europe Pro Wrestling over in Austria. So it's one of these things of now she doesn't step into the NWA. But this doesn't say that she shows up at the tapings on Monday or Tuesday, or she does a video. If Camille is still champion after 75, Hard Times is just around the corner.
That's true.
So who knows? Camille needs a name to go against in the future, and Tessa Blanchard could be that name. But in the meantime, I would have Heather Monroe work with her and also work with some of the other wrestlers at the tapings if available. Now there's rumor of NXT and some WWE releases in the near future. And I believe Lacey Evans is now free of the WWE, but I'm not sure what her availability is. If they're doing a 90-day release, I'm not sure. But
I think she said she's a free agent.
Okay. We've got, 9 days?
Yep.
It could possibly be bring her in for the gauntlet or bring her in for, hey, I wasn't able to get into this due to previous responsibilities, but I want a shot at that title. I want a shot at a real woman's title.
Right.
So who knows? I would like to see Heather Monroe at least stick around the NWA for this pay-per-view, the tapings, and then possibly Hard Times come, I believe it's usually like the middle of November or the first week of December that they've had it in the past. But it's one of those things of there's a lot to be said of bringing in outside talent, that if you're unable to build up talent within, bring them in for a couple one-offs. It doesn't always have to be a name. It just has to be a name that people are able to Google.
Sure.
That if you can do a search, if you don't know who the question mark was, you can go on this thing called Google and type in who was the wrestler question mark in the NWA. And
Right.
somewhere on the internet, you'll find it. With the internet being so available to everybody now, bigger names are great, but you can find out just about anything about anybody unless they don't want you to find out.
Sure.
So it's one of these things. I'd love to see some current wrestlers from WOW show up in the NWA, but they have a no compete unless something could be worked out. If they end up doing they did Empower. Who better to do another event like Empower than with a group like Women of Wrestling?
That's true.
Pair
Speaking
up
of
with
women,
them.
yeah. There was their front runner right there for quite a while, right? Yeah. Tessa Blanchard, some of the names you've mentioned, Lacey Evans. Here's the Woad, by the way, if you guys are not familiar. And you had mentioned Taylor Rising. That's she's smaller physically than Camille, but very athletic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is the NWA just needs to have talent that are able to work and willing to learn. That if you've watched the NWA, you've seen how far Kenzie Page has come.
Right.
You've seen how far Roxy has come from when she first started out. I'd love to see La Rosa Negra return. She's currently injured, but she's working her way back. I'd love to see tons of other wrestlers get a chance in the NWA.
Right.
If they're willing to give them a chance, great. If not, it's just going to be trading the title, that we have 5 to 7 women and these titles just get traded amongst themselves. That's the only problem with having a smaller organization. Like you've said in the past, Tim, there's 80 to 100 wrestlers and talent that is used, but they're not all used at the same time or under the same conditions. It's just one of these things that they need to think very carefully who they put the attention on, because if not, in my opinion, Camille has basically run out of competition with the current crop of NWA wrestlers. We'll see what happens at 75 and beyond. But I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that Camille retains and somebody strong wins the gauntlet match, or there's a wild card that comes out at the very end and they're the question mark and they're the missing piece to go against Camille to either build Camille up or take the title.
Don't say question mark. Billy will have some poor woman in a mask going karate with a 3 written on her. Question. Oh wait, there already is 3, 4. Question mark 4. It'll be Tessa in a mask or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that?
Oh, let's hope not.
Yeah, let's hope.
I mean, if they did put Tessa in a mask, she can talk, but put her with Aaron Stevens.
I mean, but why would you though? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Tessa Blanchard. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I look forward to it. And I think for next week, for everyone in the chat, and for us 3 guys, we got to pick our winners, including this thing right here. I'm almost always wrong. So, like, that's cool. But I think we got to say who the winner of this thing is going to be. And for some of these matches. And I currently have no idea. I put something in our Discord, like, what if Kenzie enters on night 1, the Burke Invitational, right, and comes out, but I don't really see the point.
Yeah.
Yeah. She could cash in. And anyway. All right, great stuff. There's some comments in the thing here. I think this was back for Heather Monroe. Available, if she's available as in how you doing, or available to wrestle. Available to wrestle, Mike.
Yep.
MJ Jenkins, as we mentioned, did an interview on Monday. Looked great. Good wrestler. Did that interview over on the NWA live stream.
Mm-hmm.
Is this Jay? Was this Jay? I think this is Jay, right? Monroe versus Camille happened the first primetime live non-title match. He mentioned, and Sam said, saw a few road matches on Title Match Network, Ladies Night Out event. She's pretty decent. I've seen her once. I think we saw her once in the NWA, right? Maybe twice.
I believe so.
Yeah. She was serviceable, to use Jeremy's word. I thought she was fairly decent. So, listen, that's it. It's 2 hours. It's longer than usual. We'll come back next week, and we'll talk about the last, the last gasp before NWA 75. We'll maybe do some winners, unless you guys are overly opposed to that. That's cool too. But tomorrow night is Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. It's the Alliance guys. J-Cal, DKM, and Jaden. I don't know if they're going to do Power or not. They kind of laid off on it in the last little while, but they their focus has been on what's happening not only with the National Wrestling Alliance, on a more holistic level, but also the stuff from the past that has led up to now, and kind of how everything's connected, and it's super interesting. But they may run down Power as well, and obviously the last Power before NWA 75 is next week. Gary Horn told us that recently. And every Tuesday at 5, the boss, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, does the pre-party before Power, and tells us what we're going to be looking at for that show as well. Boys, where can they find you? How about you, Jeremy? Where can they find you online? What are you doing? What do you know? What do you say?
You can find me over on Twitter at HJWOTS, on Threads and Blue Sky now as well.
What the fuck is Blue Sky?
James H. Jackson Jr. sent it to me. So that's where everybody's kicking it now. So now I'm over there too, but I'm at Championship Wrestling Jeremy on Threads and Blue Sky. And then you can find me over on YouTube at WORM5559.
I'm on Gouge. I'm on Hungry Unicorn. Threads is so funny right now. Like right now, anyway, before it picks up speed, because there's like really famous people that like all of us here would follow, and they're like, "Here's something," and they have like 9 likes because nobody's there. Nobody's anyway. Nobody talks to me over there. I'm there too, but I don't know. What is Blue Sky? Is it the new Twitter?
I have no idea.
Scooby, when you're not DJing in the back of the Mystery Machine, where can they find you online?
They can find me at Dave Scooby on Twitter and Instagram, and over on TikTok, it's at Scooby the number 1.
At Dave Scooby number 1, right?
Yeah, at Dave Scooby number 1. Sorry, getting older for forgetting.
yeah. No, we got to catch each other as we do these things. I am at the Alliance Gold, but more everywhere, and more importantly, the Alliance is at alliance-wrestling.com, your number 1 source for news and entertainment around the National Wrestling Alliance, and at the Alliance blog on all of the social media platforms. I think they're on Blue Sky, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Oh, that's is this you or is this Jay? Who is this? Which one of you is this? Jay? Is that you? Are we going to ramble about shit? Yes. So that's Jay. No, I kid. Love that show and look forward to it tomorrow night. And until then, guys, we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.